And we're back. I've always wanted to say that. You're watching the Lakers Fast Break. The only difference is I am not Gerald G. Glassford. I am filling in for Gerald tonight. Gerald is on a mini sabbatical, not technically sabbatical, but on vacation, actually, up in the Northern California area. He's actually in Target right now purchasing a gift for our very own John Costa. So very important things, very important things. And I wanted to get on here for about an hour and discuss some slow Laker news, but trying to get into a phase here with the Lakers and what the next steps are. The big fish has been fried. That is Luka Doncic signing the extension. So anyone who was paranoid about the possibility of him not signing the extension, you can now be unparanoid. For those of us who have a brain, knew that that wasn't ever going to not happen, right? But anyways, Luka has signed his extension. Got a lot of support, obviously, from his teammates, including LeBron James, for those of you who forgot or didn't see, whatever, or just wanted to stir up some news because things are that boring. But we're here not to clickbait. We're here not to make things up. I think it's important to understand that the Lakers are kind of at a standstill right now in terms of what they're going to do next. They do need two things in my view. Number one, they need more talent up front that can battle as the season progresses, as well as in the playoffs, more importantly. And then, of course, hopefully another ball handling, scoring type perimeter player that would ease the tension off LeBron James in what could be the last season he's wearing a Laker uniform, could be the last season he wears any uniform, or at least in the NBA. So we're gonna go down the line. I'll do my best to answer any questions you guys have. For those of you who are new here, please ask any question you'd like. Just make sure that the discussion stays within the realms of entertainment, not garbage. And while saying what's garbage and what isn't garbage is kind of subjective, I think you all know what garbage is. So stay away from personal attacks, ignorant comments, and stupid lifestyle comments that have nothing to do with the show. So that's all I can say there. Hey, sports baby, what's up, man? Jay, thanks for being here. I'm tonight is the dual show. Tonight is a dual show. We didn't have a show while Gerald has been gone. I thought it was our obligation to at least get one Lakers show in here before Gerald gets back. So I picked tonight. We're going to be on here for about an hour, and then we're going to transfer over to the experiment at 10 o'clock. So for those of you who want almost unlimited entertainment here for the next 2 to 3 hours, you're going to get it. You're just going to get it in two shows. And again, when we're on the LFB, it's a Laker channel. My channel kind of tends to veer off into other things, and that's the whole point of the experiment. That's why it's called the experiment. So for those of you who haven't heard that, now you have. Nick T says, does Luka have an opt-out clause? Yes, he does. After year two, which is going to happen. He's going to opt out. He will be in service 10, meaning 10 years. Therefore, he is eligible. I've heard two different numbers. I've heard 413 and I've heard 417. So he'll be eligible once he opts out after the second year of this 3-year deal. He will have the ability to sign an extension for 5 years at $413 or $417 million. I don't know if that number will go up. I have to look at the details on that. I think it could, depending on how the salary cap adjusts. I'm assuming at the very least it's going to go up 7%. I think that's the least it can go up every year. I think that's what that is. I know for sure it can't exceed more than 10% a year. And with the NBA on NBC coming back and Michael Jordan helping out there, I think there's going to likely be a lot of interest in basketball, in NBA basketball, and how that correlates with whatever new talent comes in terms of sportscasters or analysts. I don't know, because we have the TNT crew that apparently is going to be doing something. I still don't know what, but I'm sure they'll have a hand in something. But Michael Jordan being on NBC, I heard he's getting paid about $40 million to work part-time. So what that'll end up being, I know there's going to be a lot of interest there. Guys like Tom Brady, guys like Michael Jordan, before those guys, Tony Romo, they almost brought the glamour to those positions, and they were paid handsomely. But I don't think there's going to be anyone bigger than Michael Jordan. And what Michael Jordan's going to say is going to it's going to hold a lot of water. So it's going to be interesting how the ratings turn out just because of him. And if he has more interest just watching Michael Jordan versus watching the games, I think that's kind of what I'm waiting to see. So yeah, Nick, he does have an opt out, and he will 100% opt out after year 2, so he can sign the extended 5-year, $413 to $417 million as of right now. Gerald is buying John a LeBron jersey. Maybe. Damn, Solo Joe Soro, you're looking good, man. Generally, sorry, I got to put you guys on here, man. I'm kind of slow here today. Great job leaning down. Gets harder when you are older. Thanks there, Dirk. Yes, I don't really have a fitness journey. I don't do that stuff. I've been in the gym, and I've been in the gym since I was 13. Obviously, there have been huge stints where I didn't go to the gym, but in some form or fashion, I've always done some kind of fitness since I was 13 years old. Well, actually, I did do fitness even before 13, but that was when I hit the gym. And what's going on right now is something that's more a lifestyle process. I made a promise to myself that I was gonna not do a crash fitness diet or anything of that nature. I said, you know what? I'm gonna start the year by eating well, working out, and really working out hard too. By the way, I mean, really, sometimes you can get into that middle area where you might be working too hard and not enough rest to let the body heal. I got into all the details on that and made sure that I didn't overwork, because sometimes I'm kind of stubborn. I'm kind of like Kobe Bryant in the sense of working out 100, all the time, all day, 3-4 hours is like the right way to go. But and it very well might be. I mean, you look at guys like Kobe Bryant, look at guys like Arnold Schwarzenegger back in the day. Arnold used to work out 3 times a day. He used to work 3 body parts a week, and there are plenty of experiments that have said that that's too much. But then you look at Kobe Bryant and Arnold, and arguably the greatest bodybuilder of all time, and then arguably one of the best players of all time. I mean, were they wrong? I think there's just more than one way to skin a cat, and I think it depends on the person. Just like anything else, some guys can heal quick, even though they're working hard, and some don't. So I'm not done yet. I think you'll see a major transformation here within the next 12 months. Because again, I said to myself, I'm not going to go crash. I'm going to go lifestyle. I'm not going to get myself burnt out. So I'm well over the 30 mark in terms of weight loss, but there's been muscle that's been added with that, which likely I've lost more. But because I've put on muscle, it's the scale doesn't say it. And that's the other thing that you got to get around, is understanding that if you get muscle weighs more than fat, and not to get discouraged by looking at the scale. Let's see here. Hey, Joe. Great to keep the show rolling. Yeah, the show must go on, guys. And I know it's harder in August, but this is the time where the talents need to show themselves, because the talent brings the right people to the show. The talent will bring the right material to the show. We don't care if there's nothing to talk about. We will figure something out to where we'll make it interesting, and that to me is ultimately the best part of this. And no clickbaits. You can see on the top there. We're just simply asking, is this going to be a quiet August? Really? September too? So this is pretty much the dead times of the NBA, the dead times. What would it take for an NBA team to call up the Lakers, or what will it take for the Lakers to call someone and say, you know what, I think this deal might be the one that can get us over? Unfortunately, we've gone through those scenarios a little bit. Who is going to take on the talent that the Lakers have? So the Lakers have a lot of expiring contracts, some talented, some not. How is that going to work? What kind of assets can Rob Pelinka put together? Because he doesn't have enough draft assets to make something enticing for someone. So likely he would need some help from other teams, a 3 or 4 team trade to make it work. So, any questions you guys have on that, go ahead and send them to me. Okay. Again, Dirk, I appreciate that, man. And I believe that you mean it, and I appreciate the compliment. My man, Money Mark Gold Coast. Good to see you, Mark. I can't wait to see you guys next year. I'm really planning on going. I'm really going to try to plan to get to Australia to see you and Vari next year. So stay tuned. I will try to my best to mod, but I'm in and out mods. Jay, I know it's okay, guys. I think we got a good group here, so I don't think we have to worry anything to worry about. I love everything Joe and Gerald both do. This will be the great show. I'll follow experiment. Thanks, Dirk. Again, appreciate it. Let's see here. Where are we here? Not a pleasantries. Sharon, Solo Joe. I miss Gerald already. Yeah, this is I don't get a chance to solo act the LFB very often, so I thought it would be fun to throw in an hour here before my show, and at least let everybody know that we're always here. We're always here every week, no matter what. We'll get a show in. I am looking forward to the daily stuff in a couple of months, even though it's going to be crazy scheduling. But we always seem to find a way to make it in. It's a lot easier for us here at night because that's when everything dies out, and at least in my world. So once the games end at 10:30, we're usually available anyways. It's either that or go to sleep early, which Gerald and I don't really sleep early. I think I sleep at usually 12:30 every night. Sometimes it'll venture into the ones. But I've always been a Nighthawk. It's just kind of how it's been. Let's see here. Okay. Generational hater. I saw a clip of Luka working out today, but it was just 7 total side-to-side steps holding a 5-pound weight plate with a loosely attached band on his hip. So a lot of plyometrics there, hater. I'm just going to call you hater. And I think what's important with basketball, strength training, obviously, and resistance training it can go in many ways. I think the most important thing with Luka is his ability to stay loose, stay stretched. One of the things Kareem Abdul-Jabbar said when he was doing things kind of out of the ordinary for his time, he was a big yoga guy, and yoga was not as popular back in the 70s as it became, a couple decades later, and it is now. So he contributed to a lot of the ability to be flexible, to why he didn't sustain major injuries, and he was able to play as long as he did and have the energy to play as long as he did. So those plyometrics, those light weights, keeping the body kind of stretched out, loose, those things are important. The crazy guy, David Goggins, he stretches 2 hours a day. I think that's the least amount he does. I think he might even do more sometimes. So I think stretching, keeping the body stretched, keeping the ligaments stretched, keeping the muscles stretched, I think ultimately is the best way, especially in basketball. It's important to have that ability so that you don't pull muscles, and you're able to maneuver much easier in terms of stop and go type plays, which is what Luka does. The only negative with him losing the weight that he's lost, just to a certain degree, I'd rather have him lose the weight because it's going to be less stress on his knees and his ankles and his tendons. And remember, his calf took him out for almost half the year. We've seen enough issues with calves that turn into other things. So losing that weight, which looks like about 30 to 40 pounds, and being flexible, I think is going to allow him not to re-aggravate that calf issue. And then, of course, having it create a bigger issue, which eventually ends up dropping down to the Achilles. Because it seems like every Achilles tear that I've heard the last 4 or 5 years has been the genesis of it has been a calf issue. And then they play on it, and they seem to have the worst time to where it finally blows the tire right in the finals for Kevin Durant and Tyrese Halliburton, and it ends up costing their teams the title. So I'm not a big fan of the showboat of the workouts. I just think I know it's a PR thing, likely, and I don't feel like we need to hear that. I would have preferred Luka to show himself at media day. I think that would have been much more dramatic in my view. Keep the crowd guessing, keep the crowd anticipating, keep the crowd wanting something. And then when you're at that part where you can show yourself or you have to show yourself, I thought media day would have been great. But lot of these magazines, these fitness magazines, and these trips to these TV morning shows. I'm assuming they get something out of that, meaning the talent. So it is what it is. I'm not mad at Luca. Luca is a humble guy. He doesn't come off as somebody who likes to show off like his teammate LeBron James. So I don't care. He looks great. If he wants to showboat a little bit here for the first time in his career, I'm okay with it. I'm not too concerned with it. Let's see here. Where are we? Got to get back to where I was. Sorry, guys. All right, there we go. Uh, let's see here. That is crazy. MJ is so private. The fact that he's doing it shocks me, but I'm glad we have him. He's going to teach the younger generation, and hopefully that reignites the All-Star game. Him and Kobe both. When I found out, I don't know if it's 100%, but when I found out he's getting 40 million a year, that made sense. My guess is somebody in the NBA, Adam Silver, someone marketing, I don't know, or maybe even people at NBC said, "Look, we want to get Michael Jordan. What is it going to take to get Michael Jordan?" Maybe they talked to his agent and said, "Hey, what would it take to get you on this show on your time, on your schedule? Like, can we figure something out if we had you here once or twice a month, especially in maybe a nationally televised game?" And then maybe Michael and his team said, "Well, let's throw a number in there, see if they'll bite." And hey, can you give us 40 million? Sure, let's do it. I'm sure it wouldn't be the first time Michael's done something like that and had it work out for him, but it'll be nice to kind of bring in Mike, the greatest ambassador to the NBA that you could probably ever have, right? And let's listen to him talk about basketball because he's the man loved basketball. The man used to articulate basketball in a very very beautiful way, and played it beautifully. And obviously, in my view, is still the greatest of all time. So I think it's fun. I think it's fun that NBC's coming back, and it's nice that the man that made that music and the NBC game so fun to watch. You're ushering in a little bit of the past, a little bit of the glory in this new kind of age of basketball. Let's see. Arnold was on steroids. When you're on steroids, you can do 3-4 hours resistance training. Kobe wasn't doing 4 hours of lifting. Yeah, that is true. So Dorian Yates talks about that a lot. He said if you're not if you, the thing is with steroids is there's more to steroids than this, but I think ultimately it's about recovery, right? So steroids recovers you quick so that you can get back and continue to build the muscle. That's kind of the number one thing. Um, so Arnold was able to do that, but Arnold wasn't doing the stuff that they're doing even within the last 20 years. Even when in my view, the greatest decade of bodybuilding in the 90s, Arnold was using basic stuff and enough to where he could still do what he did. And to me, I've seen Arnold, the 1974 physique Arnold had. This was a year before he did pumping iron, before he won his sixth Olympia at that time. The 74 physique, I honestly, there's pictures of it, might be the greatest physique I think it's the greatest physique I've ever seen. The proportions, the muscle fibers, the striations, the shoulder to chest to waist. I mean, and then of course how the legs. He wasn't known to have big legs, but the way his body was formed, it was symmetrical. So I just don't think there's ever been a better physique than Arnold in 1974. And I've seen Sean Ray's physique, which is ridiculous. I've seen Ronnie Coleman in 2003, 1999 or 98 could suffice as well. I don't know. I think for me, I always said Ronnie Coleman looked the best on stage, but Arnold had the greatest body that anyone would want. Any man would want, really, just walking around. You can't really walk around and be normal if you're 300 pounds at 5'11 and fully muscled. It's too hard to do things. But Arnold was 6'2". He's probably more 6'1", probably closer to 6 feet, and weighed about 230 to 240. I'm at 275 right now, so I feel pretty good. And getting down to 235 to 225, which is the goal, the ultimate goal, it becomes it becomes it becomes kind of the next phase, and being able to kind of be functional. That's kind of where it is, because the extra 40 pounds down the road will be a problem with knees and joints and hips. And luckily, right now, I don't have any of those. I'm starting to turn into the experiment on LFB. I got to stick to the Lakers more. I can't. Hey, I got to answer. I got to go with what you guys want to talk about. Hey, Joe, would you ever give any planning on workout weeks to be easy to stick with that you're using? Okay, here's the thing. What you want to do is I would start 2 on, 1 off, 2 on, and then take the weekend off. So try to start with one body part within those 2 days, those first 2 days, the 4 days of the week, and just kind of build yourself there. Try to get all the body parts in those 4 days, and do cardio as try to do some kind of cardio Monday through Friday, if you can. They'll say 3-4 days. I like a little juice in the morning just to kind of get the blood flowing, and then take the weekends off on the cardio. If you can do that, and then try to fast 12 hours every day. So if you're going to eat late, right? If you're going to eat late, which I'm a late night eater guy, like I'll eat at 9 or 10 o'clock, because a lot of times the gym I'm at, I can't get to it until I get at night, and I have to get something down once I get home, whether it's a protein shake or food. So no matter what time you stop eating, try to get that 12-hour fast. That really works out. That really works out for me. If you can go 16, if you can go 14, let's say you ate at 7 o'clock at night, and then you go to sleep, let's say 10, 11 o'clock, and then you wake up the next morning, you got to go to work, and then you're not really feeling hungry. You can go beyond 12, but at least 12. And then I think that kind of gets your body kind of rested a little bit. The whole point of fasting is giving the liver and the body a break from constantly digesting. That's kind of why I do it that way. Okay, let's see. Gregory Brown, good to see you, man. Joe, what do you think of reports of McMenamin saying long as Genie Governor Rob will be there? I disagree. Eventually, Walter will phase Genie out. Rob not going to be there long. So we talked about this, Gregory. I think what's going to happen is Genie will be the mascot of the team. Always will be. She'll have her office as long as she wants to be the mascot. And Rob, I'm not going to say he's going to get jettisoned out, but I don't see him. They're going to have somebody else do the player personnel stuff, and they'll probably let him continue to be the general manager and use his quote unquote resources and his connections. But as far as building the team, there's just no way. There's no convincing of me to say that they're not going to hire somebody that's going to handle that part of the business. He could still be a general manager like Mitch Kupchak was before he became the number. Like, he stayed as a general manager, but Jerry West was the guy that made the decisions, and he was the general manager. That's what I think is going to happen with Rob. And then Jeannie's there to essentially do the stuff that she wants to do. Be the greeter, handshake, show him the Larry O'Brien's in her office, show him around every, the arena and whatever free agent comes in or whatever new superstar that comes in. I think that's essentially what it's going to be. Whether it's going to go like full blast, like, all right, Jeannie, I think we're going to take this over now, and I think I'm going to need you to step aside. I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know. It could. If it happens, I wouldn't be surprised. It would make sense, but I think it's going to be more gentle than aggressive. But for sure, the most important thing here is Mark Walter and the Guggenheims are going to have the resources to do whatever the Lakers need to do, and they will have a specific guy that's handling trades and acquisitions and those things. I'll guarantee you they will be doing that. And Rob can choose to stay and be like what we wished he would be, like the guy that gets the paperclip orders in and the printing paper, at least for me. And then, of course, he uses 30-year, 40-year, whatever connections with all the people in the NBA and then all the agencies as well. So I think that's what's going to happen there. Let's see. Joe, can you talk about your mind and how you were feeling before the Luka trade versus after the Luka trade? Great question, Mark. Great question, Soro Alpha. I was scared before the Luka trade because what was happening is we were watching the deterioration of Anthony Davis, and it was very slow. Though it was that it was the downturn that we were that sometimes as fans of the team, fans of the player, which I'm still a fan of Anthony Davis. I really like Anthony Davis. The denial, the self-denial of is this really going down? He shows flashes. He's there sometimes 1 or 2 weeks in a row, sometimes maybe 3 weeks. But then there was always something happening. Now he always had that habit, but he kind of dealt with it because he was so immensely talented. But I was worried that the more time he spent in a Laker uniform, the less value he had to use to get something else. I didn't know how it was going to play out. I really didn't. So I was worried. LeBron is going to be leaving. Is somebody going to want to come play with Anthony Davis when he's 33, 34? I don't think so. I don't think he was never going to be a number one. I think we realized that probably after 2022, at least for me. I've talked about it a little bit, but I never really went all the way with it because I wanted to keep myself in that mode of there's something else here. Let's see how it develops. But Anthony Davis has really never been a number one. He's been a 1A, especially in 2020. He was extremely valuable in 2021 before he got hurt. So if he had not gotten hurt in 2021, I think that might have been constituted as possibly that 1 year that he would have, or 1 or 2 years where he was the guy, right? But it's hard to be the guy when you have LeBron James still doing his thing. So I was scared. I didn't know what the Lakers were going to do. And the fact that the Lakers were able to flip him when they did, which was perfect. They probably flipped him right. You know how a lot of the coaches like Bill Walsh and Bill Belichick back in the day, I used to hear this all the time. They'd rather get rid of you a year or two earlier than a year or two late. This was perfect. It wasn't a year too early. It wasn't 2 years too early. It was actually perfect at the time that they traded for Luka for him, or traded him for what ended up being Luka. And after, I've been sitting on cloud nine still. I mean, I'm still on cloud nine because you got a budding, an already in his prime superstar to cover that player that you were worried that wasn't going to be championship worthy for the next 3 or 4 years. And then on top of that, the Guggenheims are about to purchase the Lakers, and I'm sitting on cloud 10 and 11 now, also, whatever those are. So that's where I'm at. I am extremely excited. My companions don't really care. It seemed like they haven't really cared much. They've been kind of hard on Rob Pelinka and the fact that he hasn't done enough acquisitions to make this a legitimate title contender this year. But for me, I'm looking at it from a different perspective. I don't think it's possible to build the team you want when you still have LeBron James on this team making $52 million a year. It's hard to do that. Plus, the Lakers are in this phase of, are we going to sign or not sign Austin Reeves? I'm going to say this. If Austin Reeves going into 2026, 2027 is your second highest paid player, you're in deep doo-doo. So if you're going to pay him $30 million a year, that's what I'm hearing. There's agents talking about it. Probably a leak from his own agent yapping about that. I don't believe he's a $30 million a year player, but the market dictates that depending on timing a lot of times. And a lot of times the timing will allow a good player or a very good player to earn more than they should because of the timing. And of course, the team not wanting to lose that money, right? But I don't look at Reeves as a $30 or $35 million player. I look at him as a 20, 25 at best. And he can't still be the second highest paid player on the team. He's got to be at least a third, at the very least. Second, you got to have somebody there that's going to be a legit star with Luka. And then Reeves plays that role of third guy. I think that's still possible. I'm still not all the way with it. I'd say he'd probably be a perfect 4 guy off the bench. But we're going to get a chance to see if he improves. If he improves this year, it has to happen in the playoffs too. If he improves, then the thought on that changes a little bit. So we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. That's the only way I can say it. Drip Show, what's up, bud? Good to see you, man. Let's see here. This Luka trade basically reintroduced life to the Lakers organization. And you know what, Sorrow, Alpha, I don't. The Lakers have done this for decades, man. And maybe us being Laker fans, being ungrateful, being entitled Laker fans. Doesn't this happen all the time? Doesn't this happen every decade? I mean, think about it. Luka this decade, LeBron the last decade, Paul Gasol the decade before that, Shaq the decade before then. So this is what they do. And now you have unlimited resources coming on top of that. So that's why I'm not worried. I'm not worried. I've had enough visual practice with the Guggenheims, with the LA Dodgers, that I have no doubt that they are going to put the best product on the court here within the next few seasons at the latest. And this team will win championships with Luka Doncic, barring any major injury. Let's see, where are we here? Trayvon, what's up, man? Life is good, man. I got no complaints, brother. Joe, do you think new management are already involved in decision making? I would be in shock if they weren't. When you drop 10 billion, what could be 12 billion before it's all said and done on anything, I think you're going to probably want some decision making. And I'm not talking about secondary decision making. I'm going to pretty much go with the fact that they're going to be making the primary decisions. Jeannie, by saying Jeannie's going to stay and do what she does, that's respect to Dr. Buss, to the Buss family, to Jeannie, and the people that have been around. And again, I've been very, very, very difficult on Jeannie and Rob, and I've said some stuff that sounded personal, and I've apologized for this because I shouldn't have done that. I should not have done that. But there was some things that they had done that I have a lot of respect for, stuff that even was kind of away from basketball. But in the end, February 1 of this year told me something, and it basically said, look, they want to hit home runs, they hit home runs. Okay. They got Anthony Davis during their reign, they got LeBron James during their reign, and they got Luka Doncic during their reign. Did they screw up everything else before, in between there? Yeah, probably. But to me, you got Luka Doncic to go get past what's happened. Good for you. Pat on the back. Let's get over what happened before and let's move on with our lives. So, Alpha, I know I sound opposite from a lot of people, but people talking about Luka in shape or not isn't what I'm worried about. I know who Luka Doncic is. I'm worried about our bench and Reeves and JJ Redick. I'm not on board with JJ at this point. I was kind of in the middle, really no emotion last year, but JJ is. I'm not sold yet on JJ Redick. I don't. I think I've had a few months here after the season ended to kind of absorb JJ Redick, and a lot of it is negative because of the way he conducts himself. I've never really been a fan of how he conducted himself, but a lot of times you can dislike people who perform. It's important. Back in the day, Bill Parcells, not a lot of his players liked him. I mean, he had shouting matches with Phil Simms. A lot of people didn't talk about him and Lawrence Taylor butting heads. But when you're winning, it cures all that issue. JJ Redick has to win, and JJ has to make the right decisions that is going to help this team win, not play high school coach trying to appease the dad so that his kid can play. That part is what I'm waiting on. I want to see how he conducts himself. Some of you think that Bronny James has a chance to maybe be in the rotation this year. If Bronny James is in the rotation this year, it's going to be big problems. All that bench issue that you're talking about is going to be even bigger issue. Bronny James has no business being an NBA player, in my view. Somebody who makes a three-point shot here and there, someone who plays a couple good games in Summer League, a couple good games in the G League, it means nothing. Okay? It means nothing. Bronny James has not proven in any way in a year and a half that he belongs in a rotation in the NBA, and I don't see that changing this year. Could he in 2 or 3 years? I don't know. I don't care. Okay, I'm talking about this year now. This year is what we're focused on. So the bench got a little bit better. just in the fact that they were able to get Marcus Smart and DeAndre Ayton, because the guys that were starting are now or will start or may not start or might get injured, so that somebody else can fill in and not lose so much. You now have at least a couple players that can handle that duty. Lakers really need two more guys. They really do. They need the backup center, mainly for the playoffs, a veteran backup big, and then another guy that can maybe break a defense down and get to the basket and make some shots. I think if they're able to make that happen, then I believe they're a real legitimate title contender. Let's see. So going back to the gym thing, the Stairmaster is something I've been on here the last few weeks. It's called the Step Mill. Technically, they call it the Stairmaster now. The old Stairmaster, when I remember hearing it, was the one that you go back and forth, right? It's like the elliptical without the bars. That the Step Mill on level 3 without your hands on the bars is immensely tough, even at level 3. So if you want to drop a good amount of weight, do that for about 40 minutes and you'll be dripping. I heard you lost 31 pounds. I could see that, Gregory. I could see you could see 30 pounds for sure. You lost a lot of weight. Let's see. A lot of athletes love that ice bath treatment. It looks unpleasant, but I guess it relieves to overwork. If you remember watching Kobe and the Karl Malones back in the day, they used to have these ice packs on their ankles, feet, and knees. It's just it's a way to reduce inflammation. That's what that really is for. I'm not going to go into any kind of bath. I think that's ridiculous. I'm not playing basketball for 48 minutes and doing it 82 times in a 6-month span and then playing playoffs. I think a lot of these guys. I mean, I've been in the gym for a million hours in my time. I've muscle builded. I've lost weight. I've did cardio. I don't think I ever felt the need to go in a tub of ice and play this. Hey, this is gonna do this to you. I think I can do what I can do without doing stuff like that. At least that's me. Let's see. Hey, is this the kind of topic, Joe? Do you remember when Kobe tried to recruit Dirk, but Dirk stayed loyal, and Kobe said he respected that? I really don't know. I heard it, but I never. I don't think it ever became a big thing. It was probably bigger in 07, Kobe going to Dallas. Dr. Buss, I think, was asking for Dirk to trade Kobe to Dallas, and Mark Cuban didn't want to do that. He wanted Dirk and Kobe to play together. I think Dirk would have been amazing with Kobe. I don't think there's anything better than Shaq in terms of power. You could have said Tim Duncan maybe, and Kobe would have been the best match. I think for the longevity, if Kobe was playing in San Antonio with Duncan and Pop, I think the Spurs would have won 4 or 5 in a row. Just because you have one of the best coaches in the league, one of the best front offices, and you had you had a star in Tim Duncan who didn't care about the limelight. And he played like a all-time great. And then you have Kobe there. Yeah, it would have just switch Manu for Kobe, and it's over. The Spurs probably win 8 of 10 championships in the 2000s. But in terms of best duo, like at its peak, I don't think you can get better than Shaq and Kobe. And there's a reason. I mean, look, the three in a row, and the only reason why I didn't go more is because Shaq was getting surgeries later than he should have, and rested on his laurels, and that's one of the things that pissed Kobe off, and Kobe didn't communicate it well, and whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then you had to deal with the fact that Phil Jackson was upset about whatever. And it's unfortunate that it went the way it did. But again, I think Dirk and Kobe, let's say if you had Kobe in Dallas from 98 to 2010, I think Kobe and Dirk might win 4 or 5 championships. That would have had a chance to win 4 or 5 championships there as well. So one of these days, hopefully, if heaven exists and I can play revisionist history or whatever, not revisionist. That's the wrong word actually. If I can go back and say, can I do a what if on all these and see it playing on heaven's TV? I think that'd be kind of cool to see what the results of that would be. Let's see. I'm sorry I couldn't get to all your guys' comments here, guys. When I get down to the schedule here a little bit, see some of the new people here. Mixel Felix. AR is nowhere near worth 25 million. My comps would be off the bench player with scoring, but defensive liability. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. That would be ideal. He's worth 20 in my view. 20 mil for 4 years. So 20 per for 4 years, 80 mil, 6 man of the year, probably 2 or 3 times if you wanted to do that. I think ideally that's what that would be ideal in my view. But there seems to be a market there apparently, but we'll see. It's one of those, when he signed his current contract, a lot of Laker fans, because Laker fans tend to get out of their heads a little bit too much. They were like, "Oh, you better sign him 25 million a year." I'm like, what are you nuts? People worried about San Antonio scooping him up. I don't think anybody even talked to him. I think Houston was the only team, I think, from what I heard. He ended up signing a $14 million a year contract, which is good. That was what he was worth at the time. Now, I don't think he's worth more than 20 in my view either. 25 at best, but 26 man of the year in and year out, I think he'd be perfect for that. But the Lakers the market would need to dictate that, and then the Lakers would need to get probably 2 guys that could be starters on this team, which wouldn't allow Reeves to have a spot. Because if you get a legitimate 3, a legitimate 2 starter in the NBA that have better skills than him, he would have no choice. He can't play 4, he can't play the 5, so he'd come off the bench. That's ideally how this thing needs to be structured. And I believe 100% that once the Guggenheim and Mark Walter people come in, that's going to be something that they're going to look at. Even if they sign him for 25 mil or 30 mil, I think what they'll end up doing is using that to get somebody else, one way or the other. Let's see. Purple and gold. New to the chat, but been subscribed for a while. Question, thoughts in Giannis or Joker? Which one is more realistic to you and why? I see Giannis as the most realistic. I think Giannis wants to play for a big market. Joker hasn't signed his extension, but we don't know if that's because he wants to play out his contract. I don't know. It could be leverage. It could be in the moment decision. But Giannis to me is a guy that I could see looking at the Milwaukee situation, staying loyal, and he should. The Milwaukee Bucks have done everything they can as an organization to make Giannis happy, whether it's keeping his brother on the team, whether it's trying to find anyone and everyone to try to come to this team, whether it was Damian Lillard, signing everyone back, whatever. They've tried everything to try to compete. And to me, if I'm Giannis, I'm like, all right, guys, look, we've won a championship together. I'm going to have my jersey right next to Kareem's in 10 years, whatever. I'm going to go to the Hall of Fame, likely as a Milwaukee Buck, maybe, or at least right now. But if you don't compete within the next 2 years, if this thing can't work out, can you let me test the market? That's how I would do it. He's going to have a chance to be a free agent for the first time in his career if he opts out after the 2027 season. If he does that, now there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to be whining and dining. Miami will have cap space for that. There's going to be guys out there that are definitely going to do whatever they can to trade to get him so that Milwaukee doesn't just lose him for nothing. So there'll be the option there. But then, of course, Giannis has to agree, right? Lakers will have a lot of cap space, but the Lakers are going to have a lot of cap space for after the end of this next year. But they'll wait, much like how the Dodgers waited for Ohtani. They kind of had a punt season in 2023 because they knew they were going to go after Ohtani. Still won the division, still made it to the playoffs, but they were ready to make 2024 the year of Ohtani, and they ended up doing that. Of course, they ended up getting even more that year, and before they ended up winning the World Series. So the Lakers are going to until they don't have to, they are going to prepare for the 2027 summer Joker Giannis possible free agent period. If you ask me what is the best combination, I think there's no doubt, and no one will argue that Joker with Luka. That's like having Bill Walton in his prime with Magic Johnson. Which, by the way, folks, that almost happened. That almost happened. Before the Lakers traded for Kareem, Chick Hearn wanted Bill Walton and had told I'm sorry, not Dr. Buzz, Jack Cook and the team, go get Bill Walton. This is before Bill Walton really started getting injured, right? Bill Walton ended up winning a championship with Portland in 1977, took out the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals that year too. But they were injured pretty badly in that series. I'm not making an excuse. Maybe Portland still wins. But the point is, Bill Walton was the bee's knees at that point, right? So imagine in 75, the Lakers get Bill Walton, and he doesn't get injured. Bill Walton with Magic in 1979. Who knows, right? That would be like the combination. Because Bill Walton is, if he doesn't get hurt, might have gone down as the greatest passing center of all time. Right now, it's Jokic. Right now, Jokic is probably taking that spot. Arvydas Sabonis was one of those guys that was really good at that. Shaq was very underrated in that aspect in terms of being able to pass at the block. But Jokic has taken over at this point. I mean, you're talking about 3 MVPs. He should have 5. 3 MVPs playing, and then you bring them to LA with Luka, and you're going to have the 2 best passers in the league playing together. Oh my God, it would be a disaster for everybody. And I don't know if Jokic is even thinking about that. I don't know if it's something that he's discussed that with Luka, but you have to prepare for the fact that you want the ability to have that chance in case they do opt out and test the market. Rob, need to get rid of those expiring before season to develop chemistry early instead of waiting till trade deadline. So the expiring contracts can only really happen if, for the Lakers, if they're getting better talent. I don't see any purpose of trading those for lateral talent. I don't see what the big deal is. They'll just sign those guys, but the Lakers need a number 2 once LeBron leaves. They don't have a number 2 once LeBron leaves. They will need a number 2. How that goes about? Maybe they punt 2026 in preparation for 2027. But we'll find out more information on how things play out probably during the year or maybe next year when things kind of play out a little bit more. So I'd say be patient. I think we're going to get a chance to see kind of where this goes throughout the year. My hope is that everybody gets better on the team. So you have DeAndre Ayton, you have Austin Reeves, you have Rui Hachimura. All 3 of those guys are going into their last season on their contract, and these guys are young and are going to get their biggest contract after the end of the season should they play well. And then you have guys like Gabe Vincent and Kleber and those guys. Those guys they're not gonna garner any big contracts. I don't see those guys playing astronomically better to the point where they're gonna earn a bigger contract. I think they'll just try to play as well as they can so that they can have another contract to continue to play in the NBA. LeBron might be the only guy that I'm like, just be LeBron. You know, if you got to go 24-7-7, 24-6-6, hell, if you got to go 22-5-5, the key for LeBron is to make sure that he doesn't play more than 32 minutes a game. That right there is going to be the most important thing. If he doesn't, then you're probably going to run into a problem by the end of the year. That's just how it's going to be. He's not going to have enough juice in the playoffs to make it work. So that's where JJ Redick needs to figure some things out. And of course, Rob Pelinka will need to possibly make something happen here during the year by the deadline to make this work. Otherwise, they might fall into the same thing. Now, Luka could play MVP ball, and that could change everything too. If Luka plays like he did in 2024, but with maybe more continuity on this team due to guys like Rui, guys like Austin, and then DeAndre Ayton maybe has his best season ever, then things could change a little bit. But there's so many variables to this, so many variables that can decide on what this team will be and what their identity is. I don't really know. I don't know. None of us know how it's going to play out, but we're gonna get a chance to see how it develops. And I think if there's a move to be made, it's going to be something towards the deadline, and it's going to need to be someone that's could be a legit number two on this team that wants out of whatever situation he's in. I would look at the most realistic one would probably be LaMelo Ball out of Charlotte. Whether the Lakers make that trade or not, I don't know. But I think that's the only realistic one that has talent, that can drop 30, that could play with Luka. The only problem is we're not going to have a lot of defense there, but that's what Marcus Smart is there for, right? So how that develops too. Does Marcus Smart go back to, at the very least, a serviceable defender and someone who can play 65 games at least this year? That's going to be another guy that has something to prove to get his next contract. Lakers are not getting a great third option for 15 to 20 mil. He'll either be injury prone or super inexperienced. Yeah, that number seems to be now kind of going into that minimum area. I don't know. I have no answer to that because I have no idea what second player is coming. Until we know that, we'll never really know how this team will play out. Once you get the second guy, let's say you get Giannis in 2027, then at that point you build around him and Luka. Even if you only have two stars, you could supplement those guys with some good 15, 20 million a year players instead of two guys, maybe three guys, something like that. So it's how the salaries get structured too, how the salary cap changes within the next year or two. I'm going to assume that it's going to go up 10% each year between now and 2027. So there's going to be plenty of money for everybody to get. Just a matter of how they're going to structure the team. Again, I am very comfortable with the Mark Walter group calling those shots once they're in the captaincy. I don't think there's going to be a problem. I think they're going to acquire the right talent. I think more than that is they're going to acquire the right lieutenant to get that talent, whoever that is. Do they pry Sam Presti out of Oklahoma? Do they get Tim Conley out of Minnesota? I don't know. Are they going to get their disciples from there to make it work? I have no doubt that they're going to make the right decision there one way or the other because they have the resources to do it. Giannis follows Kareem's footsteps, wins the Bucks, then joins Magic, aka Luka. I mean, doesn't it sound great, Alpha? I mean, doesn't it sound great? I think that would make sense. I think that'd be cool. He doesn't need to win five championships. Would love it though, but I think it would be a very fortuitous scenario that's repeated itself, and it would work. It would work. You would have major problems dealing with Giannis and Luke on one on the strong side, one on the weak side. I mean, I don't. Giannis can take two steps and get to the basket from the 3-point line. So now, if he has any spacing, because you have to factor in Luka creating that space, because if you don't collapse on him, he's going to get to the basket. And of course, if you do collapse on him and you're somehow able to shield Giannis, you're going to have two guys on each corner pretty much able to shoot wide open shots. And if you have a serviceable big who can catch the ball in the air and dunk it, then you're really in trouble. And that's the part. That's the part that gets exciting when you talk about what's next and they should compete now and they should do this now and blah, 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 blah. Okay, fine. I get that. I do want to watch them win a championship. I do want them to compete. But you also have to be realistic. What is it going to take to continue to win? I don't want to just win this year. You don't want to just stack the deck this year. Remember, these are guaranteed contracts. So if you get a couple of bad players in the long run that are on bad contracts, you're going to put yourself in a position where you can't improve the team. And you don't have any draft assets, at least not really good ones. A lot of switches. and a lot of really, really, really late first round picks down the road. I don't know how much value those really have. I know I don't really give two craps about a 2032 first round pick if I'm sitting like the Knicks or Miami. I mean, what are you going to do? Okay, yeah, it'd be nice to have those, but what are we going to do now? So, I don't. Bob Myers is the other one, by the way. I was drawing a blank. Bob Myers didn't necessarily build the Golden State Warriors, but he did kind of chaperone them. So is he? I don't know if he's going to be an option for the Lakers in the near future here as the player personnel guy. But the Lakers will have options, and there will be interest to come work for the Lakers, especially when you're the Guggenheims. Guggenheims have access to $300 billion at any time. That's the kind of power they have, and they're also very good people. And I've seen how they've operated the LA Dodgers, and being in LA, being in that environment, and still maintaining this family atmosphere with that team where it is, it's a pretty remarkable stance. And anytime there's an issue in and around the community, it seems like every time Mark Walter comes through and drops $1 million for fire victims, or if there's something going on socially, they're dropping money for charities and things like that. They got a good ear to the wall. They know what they need to do, and whether it's PR or not, somebody giving you $1 million is still something that none of us are doing. So, just saying, that's what's at stake here with the Lakers. I think that's what's coming. I'm going to answer one more question here, guys, and then I'm going to head out because the experiment is about to go on air. So, for those of you who are here for the LFB, come see me on the experiment. We'll be on in about 3 minutes, and we can continue what we're talking about or talk about other things. I know I'm talking Dodgers. There'll be a lot more Dodger talk, obviously, and of course the NFL preseason started technically last week with the Hall of Fame game, but it really starting this weekend. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Showtime was about fit balance. Rambus was a great example. We need to change the lineups, maybe add a player. Yeah, there's going to need to be someone that knows how to do player personnel things. I don't think Rob is good at that. I think he's good at being a mediator. I think he's good at still being the agent. So I believe Mark Walter, once the transition is officially through, I believe that they're going to get on that show. They're going to get on that line and get things going the right way with the right leadership. And Laker fans will be very, very happy with what the results will end up being here in the next season or two. So with that, guys, I thank you for being here. Replacing Gerald for the night. Gerald will likely be back on the next show when the next show comes. But thank you for watching the Lakers Fast Break. For those of you who are new here, please like, subscribe, hit your alerts, and make sure you tell all your friends, because Laker basketball is going to be very exciting regardless of how it ends next year. It's going to be exciting. Could be one of the all-time greats last season, and it's going to be the ushering of, in my view, the next great. And he's already great, but I think he's going to go to another level, and that is Luka Doncic. So until next time, LFB, Gerald, Sean, and the boys, we'll see you next time.